Hi, welcome to Gone Fishing. I'm Bob Kirkpatrick. Today we have a special treat for you. TJ is fishing at Falcon Lake in eastern Manitoba, and his special guest is Holly Lovell. Now, Holly is one of the few women fishing on a professional basis in Canada. We're going to get some great views on what it's like to be a woman in a sport that's been dominated mostly by men. So stay tuned as Holly and TJ go fishing for walleye with live bait rigs on Falcon Lake. Hi, I'm TJ Schwenke. Today we're at Falcon Lake in Manitoba, and as a special guest on the show, we have Holly Lovell. Now, what are you really doing out here today, Holly?
We're going to be doing some live bait rigging and looking for walleye.
Now, this is one of those typical resort lakes in the Whiteshell in Manitoba, and people have a lot of trouble catching fish here, don't they?
They do, and it's a tough lake to learn, but once you find a few spots, you're pretty well guaranteed your limit.
Well, I've heard some stories about some big fish in this lake.
Yeah, the fisheries did some netting this year to check the spawn on the walleye, and they say that there's 20-pounder in here.
Well, like Holly said, we're going to be out there live bait rigging. This is probably one of the most effective techniques for walleye, so we're going to show you how to do that, and we're going to show you some of the beautiful country around here. Let's get out there and give it a try, Holly.
Can't wait.
This doesn't feel like a bad fish at all, Holly.
This is great.
Are you saying you fish a lot of tournaments and things like that around this area, or? Whoa!
Yeah, there's been a couple walleye tournaments here and a couple bass tournaments. It's been wonderful.
Now, you as a woman fishing tournaments, that's got to be a little unusual.
It is. It is. There isn't a lot of us around that fish as many as what I do.
There we go.
All right.
Oh, there he goes. Nice release. So, how long have you been fishing tournaments then?
I did a few last year. This is the first year I've turned pro and decided to do a lot. This year I think I'm doing about 18.
18 tournaments?
Yeah.
Unbelievable. So how's it been going?
Great.
Yeah?
Great. I'm loving every minute of it. Another fish right on.
Yeah, boy, they're sure popping, aren't they?
Yeah, it looks like they really love those leeches today.
This one's got some weight to it.
All right.
Screaming up. And you said there's some big pike where we're fishing here too?
Yeah, there's big pike.
This is a walleye. I can see the white tip down there.
All right.
This water's really bog stained. It looks really dirty. It's not. It's just bog stained from all the bogs around here. But you can really see those walleye down there. They get that beautiful golden coloration here, don't they?
Oh, they are beautiful color here.
Another nice fish. That's about as classic as a walleye as you'll ever see. Right there. Look how gold that is. And we got to use barbless hooks here in Manitoba.
Yeah, it's all barbless.
See how easy that slips out of there.
Yeah.
I was a little skeptical. I've never fished barbless with live bait rigs before. I've done it a lot with spoons and spinners and things like that, but I figured with just this little tiny hook, you'd lose a lot of fish. But
no, and just as long as you keep a tight line and you know, the tension on and stuff, you're not going to lose them. And after you get the hang of the barbless, I fish a lot of tournaments that aren't barbless. I stay with barbless.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Well, that's really interesting. Now as we're fishing here, it's just a live bait rig, and we'll show that a little more in detail. And I've just got a little spinning float on here. It's a spin and glow, and you're using just a little silver blade.
Yeah, just a hammered silver.
Now a lot of times, especially in the summertime, the walleye do get a little more aggressive, and we're just coming into the summer peak. That's what we call this period. We're just coming into in mid-July now. And I think a lot of people have trouble catching fish in the summer when actually that's probably when fish do most of their feeding.
Exactly, midsummer or the summer and midday. I mean, most of the time on this lake it's an early morning bite and a late evening bite. So midday, everybody has a lot of problems fishing this lake. But once you get a couple of good spots like this, you know, you can still catch right up to 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Now we're just fishing the edge of a deep weed bed here. We can mark the weeds out to about 14 or 15 feet. And I imagine the walleye at night probably move right up into those weeds to feed.
They sit right on the edge of the weeds, and actually the big ones come in. The big ones come in to feed in there, so it's really nice. Night bite here is great.
So that's the thing, at nighttime you don't want to slip up really shallow, but as the day goes on, those walleye will just keep slipping out, and we're in about 16, 17 feet. And with this bog-stained water, the walleye don't have to go really deep to maintain their sight advantage over their prey. This is a lot of fun. Let's get another one.
Okay.
Well, it doesn't look like a real monster, Holly, but still a nice fish.
Yes, yeah, the monsters seem to be eluding us today.
I see you using some pretty fancy equipment there.
Yeah, I tend not to want to settle for somebody's hand-me-downs. I think good equipment is really important for your fishing. If you don't have really good equipment, you're not going to get the fish in the boat.
Well, I know I was really guilty. I used to give all my old rods to my wife, and I'd take the new ones, and the same thing with her. Like, she had a tough time until she got some of her stuff. You use these new Hagen's rods?
Yeah, I'm really stuck on the Hagen's. They really perform for me. They're extremely sensitive. I like the cork handle, so I'm really stuck on them. I'm stuck on them to the point I have 6 of them, so I don't think I'll be changing off of the Hagen's.
Yeah, I know I use them as well, and they are really nice rods. And you're driving a pretty fancy boat, too.
Yeah, I am. I'm driving a 1994 Javelin, and with the 120 Johnsons on the back.
I've seen it. It's green. It looks pretty sharp out there.
Yeah, it's a beautiful teal green, and you can definitely tell it's me on the lake.
Boats are as equally as important as we're talking about quality rods here, but you got to have a good boat to be competitive out there.
You do, and you have to have one. You know, you've got some speed behind you. You've got all the options and the toys, and the boat that I drive is quality. It's a really good boat, and it makes a lot of difference in the tournaments.
Yeah, I know, like the tournaments we fish, it's not uncommon to run 70 or 80 miles in a day. And not only do you have to get there fast and smooth and safely, but you have to get the fish back alive, and I think that's the most important thing. And all the new fiberglass boats, that's one thing about them. They're very smooth riding and very easy on the fish, and that's a big concern with tournaments nowadays, is mortality. And undoubtedly, these boats are helping to lessen mortality. They help us win more money because we get our fishing alive, but it's also better for the fishery.
Yeah, it is, and that's really important to me, too. I don't want to be one of the ones who's bringing in dead fish. And I think the mortality rate in some of the tournaments I've been in, it's been so low, it's not even noticeable.
There's one, Holly. Reel back.
All right.
Ooh, that feels a little better. The light's kind of been on and off today. The clouds are kind of moving in and out, and I think what happens a lot of times, walleye have a real sight advantage over their prey. We all know how well walleye can see in dim light and dark light. What a lot of people don't understand is that their eyes adapt really rapidly to changing light. Oh, there's a whole bunch of fish on the graph right here too. And what happens when the clouds come over like this, the light changes really rapidly. Well, that's a better fish, Holly. Nice fish.
Oh, nice fish, that's right.
And when the light changes like this, it's a real trigger for them to feed because the bait fish actually gets disoriented. And they kind of use that sight advantage to go in and feed. Oh man, is that ever a fat fish? I can't believe how pretty they are in here. This is kind of the classic colorations for walleye. You were telling me you wanted to bend over and catch this one, didn't you?
I did.
Yeah.
I thought I'll just hold the rod.
Short legs sometimes aren't an advantage.
No.
Uh-oh. I did it. What you call a long distance release. That hook just broke off on there. There won't be any problem. It'll just fall right out, or if it doesn't, it'll just rust out of there in a day or two. It's one of the dangers of landing fish by hand.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, what other kinds of fish are in this lake, Holly?
Big jackfish, big northerns, our standard whitefish, and lots of smallmouth bass.
There's some big bass in here too.
There's some really good sized bass in here.
What's the biggest you've taken?
Just over 3.5.
Yeah, that's a nice bass.
That's a nice bass for this area, yeah.
So is there pretty well fish biting in here all year?
Yeah, there's a lot of people that do a lot of ice fishing out here, and the smaller lakes around here, all winter long.
What are they ice fishing mainly for?
Walleye here, and they do a lot of trout, rainbow trout and brown trout.
Just in the area around
here? Yeah, just in the area. So it's a nice lake. An nice area. You can pretty well find any kind of fish around the whole area.
Well, I guess I'm going to have to tie a new hook on.
Well, it gives me an advantage.
All right. The most common way to fish a live bait rig is to troll it. And with the bigger boats like this, it's a lot easier to troll from the front. And we're using this bow mount electric just to pull ourselves along really slowly. And live bait rigging is a fairly slow presentation. It's still what we call a searching technique. We use it to locate walleye, and a lot of times we'll use it in tournaments and things like that to locate the walleye. And once we locate them, there may be more effective ways of fishing them, but it's a really good technique to use when you first get to a lake and want to look for the walleye. So what we'll do is we'll kind of go up and down the contour and fish the different depths. Then if it becomes obvious that the fish are at one depth, we'll concentrate more on it. People in smaller boats a lot of times will troll off the back end, and a good way to do that is to actually troll backwards. And people with 15 or 20 horse outboards, it's a really good way to slow your boat down, but also it gives you a lot more control. You'll notice when you troll with the wind coming against you sideways, which it is right here, you don't have a lot of control when you're trying to go frontwards when you're steering from the back. And by going backwards, you'll find you have a lot more control, plus it slows you down. When you're fishing a live bait rig, you actually have your bail open on your reel, and your finger holds the line. And that does two things. It makes detecting a bite a lot easier because you'll feel it on your finger. But secondly, when that fish bites, is what you want to do is let line go to him. And rather than just let it go, I like to just peel it off so it doesn't bind up on the reel at all. And depending on the day, I usually start counting to about 15 seconds. And then what you do is just set the hook, or tighten up on the bail, and go back to him, and then wait till you feel the weight. And then it's a nice, slow, sweeping hook set. You don't need a really quick hook set, or you'll pull it out of his mouth, or you won't get it set right. Just a long sweep. Now, if you find that you hook the fish really lightly in the lips, you might want to count a little longer. If you miss them altogether, you may want to count a little longer the next time. If you find you're hooking them quite deeply, you're going to want to shorten your count. And the only way to really figure that out is to experiment from day to day. But that's basically the way you fish a live bait rig. It's really simple to fish, and probably one of the most effective techniques there is. I doubt there's a day when you can't catch fish on a live bait rig. Another way to fish a live bait rig, there's a bite right there, is to drift with the wind. If you've got a bigger boat and you're having some trouble controlling it, a nice side drift really works good. Still just playing with it there. Oh, I got him. And you can just side drift along like this and just use that electric motor on the front to maintain your depth. And you can see that works pretty good. It's one thing the front electric motor has done for any boat is made it into a fishing machine. It gives you so much control. And you can even take your pleasure boat and put a bow mount electric on it and gain a lot of control. And if the wind gets up like this, just do the side drift. Now if the wind really picks up, you can use an item called a drift sock. And it's just a big bag you put into the water. Oh, that's a smallmouth bass.
Yeah, it's bass country.
Nice little bass. Whoa! It was funny, he kind of hit it 2 or 3 times and then come up and really grabbed it. So that's just another one of the species here. But there's no reason to quit fishing, no matter what the weather conditions. I know a lot of people get scared of the wind. Boy, do they ever fight. And no matter how windy it gets, you can usually maintain some type of boat control. By using the drift socks or using your electric motor. Come here, you. There's a nice bass. He's got it down deep too. You got the forceps there, Holly? Now you have to fish barbless in Manitoba, and these barbless hooks just slip out of there so nicely. I'm just gonna get him back. Yeah, that was kind of fun.
Yeah, those smallmouth bass can always be a lot of fun. I like the ones that jump and clear the boat.
Yeah. We just kind of come up onto some rocks there. It was kind of at the end of an inside turn coming onto a rocky point, and that's right where we caught him. So we're just going to keep drifting along with the wind here, and hopefully we'll pick up some more walleye, and you never know, maybe a smallmouth or a pike too. Well, you missed that one, and I picked him up right away.
You got half my leech and went through yours.
Well, it's always nice when the guest makes the host look good, so it's nice of you to let that fish go and let me catch him.
I think I'm making you look real good today.
This feels like a little better fish.
All right.
Now, if you were going to talk to some women about getting started in fishing, what are some of the things you'd suggest to them?
I would tell them not to hold back. If they're thinking just because they're a woman that they're not doing it, I think that they're making a big mistake. Fish don't really care what sex is on the other end of the fishing rod.
Well, I don't agree with that, because I usually get fished out when there's women, or outfished when there's women in the boat.
Yeah.
Oops, come here.
Well, not today.
I think women a lot of times are better fishermen than men. They have a better feel.
And they have more patience.
They do at that. And an interesting note, as far as smell goes, we all know that fish use positive smells to get fish, but negative smells also will turn fish off. There's a really nice chunky little walleye there. It's going to get him back. And L-serine, it's an amino acid we have in our hands. It's probably one of the most negative smells there are to fish. And interestingly enough, women have a lot less of it. So when fish are really negative and relying a lot on smell before they inhale a bait, I think a lot of times, if you have that less L-serine, which women do, that's why women will outfish you a lot of times when you're in the boat.
Yeah, and I think it's a lot to do with patience and frustration.
We did a seminar one time in Calgary, and we asked the question why women catch more fish. And this little boy came out of the audience and said because they're quieter. I don't know if I always agree with that or not.
No,
but.
I don't think so.
So as far as tournament fishing goes, you're probably one of the only ladies that runs a boat herself. I know there's a lot of ladies that fish with their husbands and things, but you're probably one of the only captains that's a woman.
The only one that I know of, actually.
And you fish a lot of times with other women, don't you?
Yeah, I do. I try and pick up female partners a lot of the time. Not that I have anything against fishing with guys, but I like the fact that the women are out there. Predominantly, it's been a man's world, and I like the idea that there's women out there, and it shows the other women that they don't have to be sitting at home in their house watching their husbands go out.
Now, what are some of the tournaments around here that you would recommend maybe women to get started in?
There's some great ones in smaller ones. Pinawa is a great one. They have some on Falcon. They have the Red River tournament. There's Dryden is a really good tournament up there.
You have both bass, walleye, and even catfish tournaments.
Yeah, and my preference has always been walleye, but I'm doing a lot of bass tournaments this year, and they're great fun.
Well, I'll tell you what, you're one heck of a walleye guide.
Guide, but I'm just not catching the fish today. I think we better get back at it.
All right. This doesn't feel like a great big one, Holly. I just marked a couple big fish on the graph there. No, not smaller one. Live bait rigs, whoops, sorry, just popped off. It's the beauty of these barbless hooks. Beauty of these live bait rigs is that walleye don't actually bite a bait, they inhale it. And they're not feeding, I don't think, all that actively today, do you?
No, they're just tapping it. They're not aggressive at all today.
So the problem with something like a jig or something else, it's harder for them to inhale it. But with this live bait rig, this weight actually isn't attached to the line at all. And when we let the line feed to them, it slides through there. So they feel no resistance at all. So not only does that allow them longer to take it, it makes it much easier for them to inhale it in. So that's really important to realize when the fish aren't feeding that actively, they don't inhale large volumes of water, and you got to make it as easy as possible. You notice one thing we're doing too, a lot of people make the mistake when they're trolling along and they get a bite, they'll start feeding line, but they keep trolling. And all you're doing is getting further away from the fish. What you want to do is at least stop trolling, and sometimes if they're really negative, you actually want to back up and get over top of them so you can set that hook straight up and down. The further you get away from the fish, the more chance there is of losing them, and the more chance there is of screwing up. So that's just a couple tips that'll help you catch a few more fish in your live bait rigging. I just want to take a little time here and show you the live bait rig a little more in detail. The weight is undoubtedly the heart of any live bait rig. And this is what's called a walking sinker. And this one's made by Northland, and you can actually take it on and off without having to retie the rig. When you put a walking sinker on, you want the bent portion at the bottom facing the hook. And that'll allow it to go over the snags and not get hung up as easily. Bell sinkers or something like that tend to get hung up a lot more easily. I choose my weight depending on the depth and the speed I'm fishing. Kind of a good rule of thumb is use about 1/8 of an ounce of weight for every 7 feet of water you're fishing. So if you're fishing in 14 or 15 feet of water, you're going to probably use about 1/4 ounce weight. If you're going deeper than that, you're going to go to a 3/8 ounce. The whole key with this is make sure you can maintain bottom contact. So if you're having trouble feeling the bottom, don't be afraid to go to a heavier weight, because the nice thing about it is it's not actually attached to the line. So even when the walleye picks it up, it doesn't matter how heavy that weight really is, because that line will slide freely through there. So use whatever you're comfortable with and can maintain bottom contact with. Now, something I've done on this one is I've added a rubber stopper in between here with a bead, and that lets me adjust the length of my snell without having to retie the rig. This again is something from Northlands, and not all rigs have it, and you don't have to use it. It just gives you a little more versatility and lets you be a little quicker while you're fishing. In between that, there's just a small number 10 barrel swivel, and then we have our snell, and that's just a length of monofilament line, and I usually use 6-pound line, and Berkeley Ultra Thin is a really good one to use. The length of the snell really varies on the mood of the fish. I usually start the day with about a 3-foot snell. That's kind of average. If the fish are really active, you want to shorten your snell up, and that gives you more control. If the fish get really negative, you want to lengthen that snell out. Probably the longest you're ever going to want to go is about 9 or 10 feet. The shortest you're ever going to go is about 18 inches, maybe a foot at the shortest. Just before the hook, I like a little bit of color. Some people run just a straight hook, but I usually put a bead in between there. If the walleye are tight to the bottom, all you need is a bead. Orange, pearl, glow are probably some of the most common colors. Neither a 5 or 6 millimeter plastic bead works the best. In the live bait hook, I probably use a bigger hook than most people. I use a number 2 live bait hook, and they also call it an octopus hook. And the reason I like the bigger hook is it's got a bigger gap on it, and I think it allows you to set that hook a little better. Now the reason people go to the smaller hooks is because they're usually lighter, and it lets that bait have a little more natural action. But I found these light wire hooks work really good. You can go to larger size without sacrificing the weight. What happened in there?
This guy's not a happy camper.
He kind of fooled you when he first came up there, didn't he? Can't see him yet. He's underneath the boat. Staying down like a walleye.
Yeah, he sure is.
Oh yeah, nice walleye.
Come on, baby.
Oh, they got such white fins here. I can't believe it. Let's see if I can land him without losing him here for you. Oh, beautiful fish. So you're tangled up on my line there too.
Oh, and he's gone.
Oh, he's gone. He was tangled around my line and he popped off. That was a nice fish. That was about 4 pounds.
Oh, well.
We'd let him go anyway.
Yeah, it was a nice catch and release. It was quick release.
Before and you're tough. And I've seen you out in the tournament circuit before and you're a tough competitor out there. I've never had the chance to fish with you, but I really enjoyed it. Like I say, this is one of the best lakes I've fished probably in this area.
Well, I'm hoping that a lot more people come out and fish these lakes.
And I'm sorry I let your big fish go today. We had it right up to the boat, and, well, hey, the host has to look better than the guest. If you'd have caught a bigger fish than me, it just wouldn't have worked out. So thanks for being a sport about that.
No problem at all.
Anyways, thanks for joining us, and make sure you join us next time on Gone Fishing.